The Eagles have a lot of turmoil going on within their organization as well. Doug Peterson just got fired, and it is reported to be that Doug Peterson and the Eagles' relationship went south because Doug Peterson got tired of people telling him what to do. Do you think that he deserved to get fired? And maybe deserve is a harsh word, but do you think that it was the right move for the Eagles to fire Doug Peterson?
I think it was. I think after everything that happened there, he had a couple of good years. He obviously won the Super Bowl, which was an incredible year. And then he had those 2 9-7 years where they make the playoffs and maybe one or two things go their way and they're right back there. But when you look at what happened this season, I know they had a lot of holes in that roster, but especially what happened with Carson Wentz and the way things went south with him. He's such a talented quarterback. And I know coming off of an injury, there were a lot of factors that went into it, but I don't think he did anything to help that relationship. I personally don't think the Eagles want to move off of Carson Wentz because they've invested so much into him. And so they were kind of left here to choose a side, and Doug Peterson was the odd man out. I don't think that the players were very happy with him after what happened in the final game of the season, which I don't necessarily know if it was his fault. I think his quote on the way out kind of signaled that that was a call from up top. I do think it's unfair that Howie Roseman gets to keep his job while Doug Peterson is out there looking for a new one. But at the end of the day, I think it might be best for both sides. If Doug Peterson can go out and get another shot somewhere, I think he can still prove that he's a good head coach. But I don't think that this relationship was good for either party.
Howie Roseman has survived 3 head coaches, I believe. He survived Andy Reid's firing and now Doug Peterson. I forgot the other one. I'm not sure who it was. But I think that it was the right move for them to fire Doug Peterson. And I keep hearing all of this stuff. I was watching First Take this morning, which I rarely do, but
I was actually watching today too.
If it is on, then I'm gonna watch it because they're highly entertaining. And everybody's talking. Stephen A. was talking about specifically that it's not Doug Peterson's fault that Carson Wentz played garbage and all this other stuff. Yeah, it was. Like Carson Wentz has mechanic problems. His footwork is sloppy. It's all over the place. But at the end of the day, Doug Peterson did not make that better. His play calling did not make that better. People tend to forget that football is the ultimate team sport. In order to succeed, especially at quarterback, your receivers have to be in sync. Your offensive line has to be protecting you. Your play caller has to be calling the right plays in the right situations. There are so many things that go into it. So just looking at a blank sheet of stats that show how Carson Wentz performed doesn't paint the full picture. That being said, Carson Wentz did have his worst season to date, no doubt about it. He deserves blame for his performance, but also Doug Peterson is known as his quarterback guru, and he made the quarterback situation / room in Philadelphia extremely unhealthy. Between Hurts, Wentz, benching Hurts in Week 17, yes, he won a Super Bowl. Yes, he's been to the playoffs, but at the end of the day, in hindsight, we look at that Super Bowl and we're giving Frank Reich most of the credit. Look what he did with Indianapolis. Andrew Luck's first year in Indy, they start out, I think, 0-5 and make the playoffs. This year, they made the playoffs with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers had a comeback year. Last year, he threw 20 interceptions. I knew Rivers was going to be good this season with the Colts. People laughed at me, but look what he did. They almost beat the Bills, who were favorites, who are a 13-win team. Frank Reich has gotten most of the credit for that Super Bowl, but all in all, the Eagles were kind of forced to pick Carson Wentz over Doug Peterson just because of how the money works out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was the right move for Doug Peterson to go and for them to fire Doug Peterson. I think it was more of a mutual decision. But my concern is that if Doug Peterson is saying he got tired of people telling him what to do, what does that mean? Does that mean you just hated people telling you what to do? Like, do I take that verbatim, like word for word? Or do I take that as you want full control of a franchise, kind of like what Bill O'Brien had? You know, that's how I kind of look at it right now. I don't know what's going to happen. They're saying the Jets could possibly get him because Joe Douglas has a relationship with him. What are your thoughts with the Jets potentially hiring Doug Peterson?
First of all, I don't want it. I definitely do not want that. I think there are much better candidates available. I don't think it will happen. I know when Adam Gase was fired, obviously it was a no-brainer decision. So it's not like we're going to give Joe Douglas a pat on the back for doing it, but the reports were that him and Joe Douglas had gotten very close. So it was not an easy thing for Joe Douglas to do. He did fire his friend at the end of the day. So I don't think Joe Douglas is in the business, giving his friends handout jobs. I don't think that him being friends with Doug Pederson is going to get him a job. And when you look at the search, I think the Jets are after two guys right now. I think it's going to come down to Robert Saleh or Brian Daboll. And both of them, they have their own positives. Getting Brian Daboll in, obviously, you see what he's done in Buffalo. Such a spectacular job with Josh Allen building that offense. And not only that, their offense then takes a hit in Buffalo. That's a division rival that, you're giving him an extra hurdle to get past next season. And Robert Saleh, also, you see what he's done with the 49ers. He's going... One thing about Robert Saleh, when the Jets started the search, they said they wanted a CEO type, a leader of men, somebody that's going to build a program. First of all, I don't see that in Doug Pederson. I think he's the opposite of that. Robert Saleh is that guy. He's a fiery, energetic, players love him, a guy that you'd run through a wall for, and he's a good defensive head coach, or a good defensive coordinator that would become a good defensive head coach. And he would also bring along some nice offensive coordinator options out there in San Francisco. I know LaFleur's brother is somebody who's been floated around as an option. The 49ers can't block him because COVID rules changed that. Now with the assistant coach blocking, they would have to offer him a coordinator position, and they won't do that. So I think that those two guys are the guys for the Jets. I don't think Doug Pederson will be the guy because he doesn't fit the MO that they're looking for. And Joe Douglas, it seems at least to be a guy who is focused on winning and doesn't care who it takes to get it done. He's not going to hire his friends in place of winning.
I like Robert Saleh. If Robert Saleh becomes a Jets head coach, then our defense is going to change into a 4-3. Right now it's a 3-4. Our defense is going to change to a 4-3. We're probably going to have Quinnen play nose tackle like he did in college, and John Franklin Myers play alongside of him. So I think our defense will be revamped, no doubt about it. For some reason, it's just my gut feeling. I just believe that Doug Pederson is going to be the new Jets head coach. It's just my gut feeling. This is what happens with the Jets. This is just, from me being a Jets fan and the trajectory that we've been on in our history, what can go wrong will go wrong. As Stephen A. Smith says about the Cowboys, that's how I feel about the Jets. The Jets always find a way to jet it up. It's always something. We hired Adam Gase when Mike McCarthy was on the market. Now, so many coaches to pick from, we might end up picking Doug Pederson, who was never expected to get fired in the first place. I know that we had our final interview with Robert Saleh, or we're going to have it.
Yeah, in person today.
Yeah. So who knows how that went. But it's just my gut feeling, especially if Joe Douglas is close with Doug Pederson, because it's just the difference between Gase and Pederson. Pederson has something on his resume. He's he's made it to the playoffs. He's won a Super Bowl. There's something to be said for that, regardless of how you may feel about him. And it's just my gut feeling that the Jets are going to sign him. I just have a gut feeling about it that it's going to happen that way.
I don't even think he's a terrible head coach. I don't think it would be Adam Gase 2.0 because Adam Gase was just a bad head coach. I don't think there's any way around that. I just don't think that Doug Pederson is what the Jets need right now. Like they said perfectly, they need a leader of men, somebody who's going to come in and build a culture and build something sustainable. And I don't think that Doug Pederson's the guy to do it. He literally did the exact opposite of that in the last few weeks in Philadelphia, regardless of whether it was from the front office or not. He ran out those plans. He laid out those plans. So I don't want him, and I don't think he will be the head coach come opening day.